In this video I'm going to show you how to replace the water pump on a BMW N43 2-litre engine, which in my car is the E93. The good news is it can all be done from the top. I've already taken mine out. You need to remove the air intake, then get down into the engine area, and as you can see I've already removed my pump. The most difficult part was accessing the two nuts that hold the thermostat to the pump, and for that you're going to need a 10mm spanner, and you'll see that because it's so awkward to get at, you'll probably drop the spanner a few times, so a good idea was to tie string and secure it to the top so that you can retrieve it even when you do drop it. I drained the pump by removing the bottom hose and just allowed it to drain through the sump guard at the bottom here, and for that you're going to need a slim tray. I used a cat litter tray and I got over 2 litres out of the engine from full. Just a warning, the top hose here that you can just see, this metal one, is the one that goes into the cylinder block, and it's not very flexible at all, so you're going to have to make sure that you don't do any damage to that one. So when I removed it, I left it basically in place and then wiggled the pump away from the rubber mounting rather than the opposite way around. So the challenge now is to put it all back together, but first I'll show you a few things on the pump that you need to be aware of. Here we have it. Unlike most of the videos I've seen about doing this job, the first thing to note is that the top bolt is an E11 and the bottom two bolts that secure the pump are E12s, and the magnetic, which means that the steel and the aluminium. The other two bolts here are securing the thermostat housing to the pump body. They're 10mm, and they are the biggest challenge from doing this job above the car rather than below. Okay, I'm showing you the cavity now where everything fits. It's lit up a little bit better now so you can see the mounting area for the actual pump, and around the side here you can see the thermostat. If I just try and get in a bit closer, you can see the two challenging locations for the securing bolts. But other than that, 2-hour job, and as you can see you're going to want to cover up the starter motor when you're draining the engine. You don't want water damaging any of your contacts down there, so I've covered that with a plastic bag and just put a cloth over the top. Right, let me show you the bolts. First of all, note that they are steel, not aluminium. They're magnetic. They are the original bolts off the car from the point of manufacture. The bottom securing bolt for the pump is an E11. The top two, slightly thicker, are E12s. As I say, most people talk about these being aluminium, but you can see the magnetic, so they're clearly steel, and they are definitely the original bolts from the time of manufacture. The 3 screws are for the air intake housing, and the 2 challenging bolts when it comes to putting them back on and taking them off are the 2 10mm bolts that secure the thermostat body to the pump. Now let's have a quick look inside the car, where you can now see that I've jiggled the pump into place. So now it's just a question of reconnecting the hoses and the electrical connected and the bolts. Remember what I said in terms of the top hose that runs into the cylinder block. Be very careful with that one, because there's not much play in it. jiggle your pump, don't jiggle your hose. Okay, so finally we've got the bleeding process going on. So you can see the water being pumped in there, but it's spurting a bit, you'll still air in the system. I'll tell you how to pump into bleed mode in a minute. But as you can see, everything's back in, spilt a bit during the bleeding. The one thing I haven't done is I haven't nipped the bolts up just in case I had any problems and I needed to reverse it out. Well, let me tell you now how you put the car into bleed mode. You've got two bleed screws, one on the top of the reservoir and another one on the top of the oil pump. See, we're starting to get quite a nice flow coming through here now. So, into the car. Right, to get it into bleed mode, simply put the key in the ignition and then press the button just once. You don't want to be starting the car. Turn your heating up to max, turn your fan to the lowest speed. You don't need any of the selections on the heater side of things. Then you press the accelerator pedal. Mine's an automatic. You press the accelerator pedal for 10 seconds. I did 12 just to be on the safe side, and then when you get out you should notice that your pump's running. I was a bit concerned at first that there was no flow evident, but there was obviously a lot of air in the system. As I've just shown you, it's bleeding quite nicely now. And the other thing you may have noticed under the hood is I had a battery charger across the charging points just in case my battery is not too great, because I'm going to be bleeding this now for probably about 5 or 10 minutes, and that's it. I'll then nip up the nuts, job done. All in all, if a conservative estimate, 2.5 hours in and out. So this is what I was talking about before. Got a battery charger connected up while the pump's been running so as not to drain the battery too much. The final thing now is for me to go back in and nip up the nuts. The 2 bolts for the thermostat housing don't need to be overly tight. The 3 nuts on the pump are 10 Newton meters. Basically that's finger tight and 1/4 of a turn, no more than that. And that's it, job done. Oh, finally, the bleed point is on the top of the oil filter housing, not the oil pump like I said before.